Welcome to Your Only Friends, where friendship is first, but comedy is always. I am your host, Jared Dykas, and this is a reminder. We are your only friends, okay? This is the first solo episode of the podcast, so I'm really excited to be here today. It's first Friday in St. Pete, so it's the first Friday in January, and every first Friday here in St. Petersburg, the town shuts down. It's crazy. Madness, erupts, and they open up the streets, and it's like a big bar crawl type craziness. But I point that out because where this office is and where this studio is above all that. So you might be able to hear some sirens in the background this episode. There might be some riots outside, maybe people marching for Palestine. I'm not sure. But regardless, it's a unique episode and I can feel it, right? I can feel that this is my first solo episode. It's first Friday. There's a bunch of firsts here. There's a bunch of firsts. Speaking of, this is the first episode with our new producer, my longest friend, Nick Skabinski. Nick Skabinski, how are you? You can speak.
I'm allowed to speak.
Yes.
I'm doing swell.
Nick is doing that. Well, in case you can't hear him, I'll get into the concept of the show in a second, but I love that Nick's my producer because he is my longest lasting friend. Will always be my longest lasting friend. And the whole concept of this show came from a time in my life where even though I had a bunch of friends, I felt very lonely and I felt like I was my only friend, if that made sense. And that's not a good feeling to be in, where you feel like you're your only friend. The show is actually going to be called You Are Your Only Friend. So Your Only Friends, was going to be You Are Your Only Friend. It sounds like a mouthful. It is. But that was the concept of this show, right? I wanted to bring on people that I'm friendly with. They might not be my best friends yet, but I'm friendly with them. They are my friends. And I wanted to talk about comedy. I wanted it to not be serious. A little bit of background about myself, and why I chose this podcast. This is my third podcast. So the first one was called Fail Forward Friday. I shot that with the other producer of this show, Jeff Tucker, the owner of Tuck Media. And that was my freshman year of college, right after I did an event with Gary Vaynerchuk and dropped out of school. So that podcast was all about failure and business and entrepreneurship. Like some of you may know, I joined the wrong pyramid scheme at the right time, Vima Verve. And that really sprungboarded me into entrepreneurship from a very young age. And so I had an inkling to get on podcasts and talk about entrepreneurship like I knew what I was talking about. Clearly I don't. I'm now recording a comedy podcast. But really, that was a very business, professional space. I was trying to network, being known as this young entrepreneurial mogul at 18 years old before my mental breakdown. Obviously that didn't work out. So yeah, that was my first podcast. It's on YouTube still. It's under some, real estate brand that we were creating at some time. And then my second podcast happened like probably 5 years after that. So now I'm like 23, 24, and I'm living in Baltimore, Maryland. And I'm working with Shaquille McRae and John Newman. Nick Skabinski's there. And I shoot the Think Pod, probably 8 episodes. Some of them are featuring Keller Williams' biggest agents, like Bob Lucido, Montez McRae. I'm a real estate agent, so everything I touch turns to sold. If this cup doesn't tell you the current state of the real estate market, then I don't know. It's sad, right? To be a realtor in 2024 is quite sad. No, I'm kidding. I've been in real estate since I was 18 years old. And this is actually my first full year as like a full-time realtor, the Jersey way to say it. and I'm really excited to see where that takes me. But the Think Pod was when I was working as like the marketing person for this real estate team, and we wanted to produce a podcast for our real estate team, Think Real Estate. And so we called it the Think Pod. It was just about where thoughts have no limits, and I would just bring on different guests. They weren't all real estate. There is one virtual podcast with Digital Jeff, who is a huge idol and mentor of mine. Definitely look that up if you have time. I would love to get him on this show in person when he makes a trip to visit me in Tampa. So we'll see about that becoming a reality. But the Think Pod was like, it was so fun because when Jeff Tucker started video production, and that was the guy who did Fail Forward Friday with me, it was his first swing at things. He was like 23 years old recording Fail Forward Friday. And, that was interesting because it's like after that podcast series that we put on YouTube, Jeff went on to start Tuck Media, which is a very successful media company that has tons of clients in the real estate and entrepreneurial, startup space. And that really happened from doing a free project that me and Jeff wanted to do, just Fail Forward Friday. The Think Pod was so cool because it happened years later, but it was like a similar production style of this compared to Fail Forward Friday, which was just one camera. It was never in a studio. It was like in my garage in Jersey at one point with a person that is whatever, you know what I mean? Like it was just a weird start to content, back in 2016. The Think Pod was very professional in the sense of the setup, and it was fun. You can tell like I love podcasting. I love talking. I love making people feel things through content, if that makes sense. And so, to start Your Only Friends now in 2025, right, where it's almost been 10 years ago where I started my first show, and I'm now living in St. Petersburg. Yeah, it's not looking exactly like how I thought it would look like when I moved down here. But hey, I'm grateful. I'm alive. I have my friends around me. I have my comedy friends around me. I'm meeting more real estate friends. I'm meeting women. I'm kidding. I'm not meeting women. But it's really fun. This is like a great time. And I'm really grateful to be here, for the first solo episode. And that's a little bit about me. I'm a real estate agent. My name is Jared Dykas. I've been doing comedy for about a year. I started at Sunshine City Comedy Club. I remember I was walking with my ex-girlfriend and she convinced me to try comedy. So I called Sunshine City Comedy Club. It was like the first comedy club that popped up on Apple Maps. And I call Kenny and he says, yeah, it's Tuesday night. Come on through. Well, little did I know when I show up there, it was also a roast battle, or not a roast battle, but a roast competition roasting the old owner of the club that Kenny bought the club from, named MJ. And if you guys are my friends or if you know the club, you know MJ. He is a character, one of my favorite people. Definitely need to get him on the show as well. But yeah, I called Kenny and it was a roast of MJ. And so I go to Sunshine City Comedy Club. This is 2 Junes ago. Because I took some time off from comedy, only been doing collectively about a year, but started 2 Junes ago. And I'm sitting in the crowd and they're roasting MJ. And they say to any of the open micers that haven't gone up yet, if you want to go up and roast MJ, now's your chance. So I didn't even try my open mic set yet, but I was so amped up to try comedy that I went back, talked to Jake Poland and was like, yo, can you throw me on the list? They threw me up there to roast MJ, and I didn't even know who MJ was. I just said he looks like what I would imagine the creator of Family Guy to look like. And that's not a slight towards MJ. I love MJ, but it was valid. And yeah, it was a great roasting experience. I didn't really roast him that much. I kind of went up there and made more friends with him than roasting him. But I think it really just speaks to my character, if you get what I'm saying. But that was how I started. That was like my first virgin mic, right? Pop the cherry. And then that night, Forrest Beers, who's a very funny St. Petersburg comedian, introduced me, brought me up on stage just because it's an open mic, not because of anything special. But I got it all on camera. And an interesting thing happened when I did stand up. I quickly realized how different it was than public speaking, as stupid as that might sound. I've been doing public speaking thanks to Pyramid Scheme since 15 years old. And so I spoke in front of 1,000 people at 15 years old about a scam, legal scam in America. And that gave me all the experience and confidence that I needed to continue to not stop talking and public speak and get good. And eventually, when I was 20, what is this, 2 years ago, so maybe 25, I opened up the room in Austin, Texas for Gary Keller, who's the founder and co-founder of Keller Williams, which really made my life, to not go too deep into it. Like when I say that I grew up in Keller Williams, I really did. I wasn't working with them from 18 to 27 consecutively, but there was some times that I did door knocking business stuff. Like I was pounding the pavement, not the people. I was knocking until my fingers bled, selling solar, Verizon Fios, only the best cable and Wi-Fi, fiber, fiber net. I was doing a lot. And Keller Williams has been with me though since this period of time where I entered the real estate club in Towson University in Maryland, where I went to school for one semester mentally, 2 semesters physically I went for. I was checked out after that first semester. I went to college, and I don't recommend this. I went to college knowing I would drop out, and then I just wanted to go there for a network. And I picked Maryland to network. Kind of weird. But I met my best friends, like Shaq, Jeff. These are people that I will die with, like a group suicide, I will plan out a suicide and we will all kill her. Okay. No, these are like my lifelong friends, right? So if I didn't go to Maryland, I always think, where would I be right now, right? I definitely want to be doing this. And I'm not saying where would I be? I'm at this great place. I'm just saying all of this, like the fact that Nick's here, the fact that we're doing this first solo episode, it all means so much to me. Another thing about me is I attach a lot of meaning to things because I'm bipolar, I think. I have a thought disorder, so naturally I get manic thoughts, and that's what I believe is my superpower, in a weird way, because it keeps me on my toes and it's just something that keeps me interesting, I think. I've learned how to manage bipolarism, or whatever you call it, to the best of my abilities. I was diagnosed around 20 years old. And it's a big part of my life. It is, unfortunately. Maybe not unfortunately, fortunately. Being bipolar is a big part of my life. And there's a lot of highs and lows. I wish I was a schmedium. Like I say, I'm not a schmedium. There's a lot of highs and lows that come with this bipolarism journey. But, that's part of the reason why I want to document it all, right? Because I think that regardless what happens, with me, maybe one day becoming a great comic or a great real estate agent or a great father or a great bus driver or a great basket weaver, whatever great thing I decide to become or become eventually, right? It'll be cool if it's documented, and it'll be cool if my friends are documented along the way. I'm not doing this because I think I'm going to be the next Ryan Sheckler or anything like that. I'm doing this because, quite honestly, what am I supposed to do right now? Am I supposed to be down there with all of St. Pete, drinking on a first Friday, pouring Coors Lights over homeless people? No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be up here with my best friend recording a solo episode. And wow, like the day I had today, it doesn't even make sense. It's like 6 o'clock. It's like 6. We already crushed a solid 15. Yeah, I mean, holy moly, the day has been absolutely wild. And I like the show because I get to, at the end of my days, because I never do it during office time. I'm always doing it like after 5. Yeah, I come in here and I invite a friend and we just talk and we have fun. Or, if these solo episodes continue to go as well as this one's going, then we'll continue to do these solo episodes, and the show will evolve. It will evolve. I look at it not as a podcast, but as a show. And that's not because the Oprah Winfrey Network is sponsoring us or buying it. I look at it because it's a show in the sense that it's very visual. Like, I want skits to come out of this show eventually. I want original, just vlog type of videos with the people that I'm interviewing to come out eventually, right? This is a very meta episode. I'm telling you my plans, and if none of this works, I hope, no one cares. I'm assuming you don't. However, if you do care, stay watching this episode. What are things that you can do to support me? That's a great question. You could subscribe, you could like, you can comment on every Instagram photo that I ever posted. You could just support the show. We have a sponsor. We have a sponsor for the show. Most people don't know about this. Chuga Shilajit, which is the most meaningful brand in my life besides the Jack Smith Group, which is my real estate team that I work for. They are a sponsor, Chuga. Chuga is a sponsor. Chuga Shilajit. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is Chuga Shilajit? Well, if I had the answer, I wouldn't even be here right now. But from my knowledge, what this thing is it's stuff that you put in your water. It looks like black tar heroin, and it makes your testosterone go up. And whatever the good version of that for females is, it also makes that go up as well. Not FDA tested. Not FDA tested. I'm not going to get into the science of Chuga right now or what Shilajit is, but essentially monkeys have harvested it from thousands of years ago through the ancient Himalayan salt rocks. Just like this salt lamp here. Like, imagine if brown ooze was oozing from this rock and then monkeys went and got it and then put it up in a ball. And then this is in India, keep in mind. Happens in India. Okay? And then some way, somehow, someone put it in, I guess, water, and then they started feeling the effects. And it's not all about getting hard, okay? It's not all about your testosterone. It's the mental focus. I'm not even joking. When I do drink Chuga, and I try to drink it 3-4 times a week, I should drink it daily, but I'm not the best with habits yet. Something I'm trying to develop as a young 27-year-old in America. But when I do drink it, I feel better. I do. I'm not just saying that because they pay me $50,000 an episode. I'm saying that because Pat, the owner, Pat Bales of Chuga, is also a dear close friend, if not best friend of mine. The producer of the podcast, Nick Skabinski, wait until you hear this. He is a partner of Chuga. So by supporting Chuga, you're supporting Nick. By supporting Nick, you're supporting me. By supporting me, you're really supporting ISIS, if you think about it. I don't know why I'm going so randomly political. It's just the randomness thoughts that are lingering in the corner of my brain, But by supporting me, no, you really are supporting a great vision, I think. If I could speak highly of myself for a second, I would say that, I'm a good person to follow. I'm a good person to support. I mean well. I think if this is our 7th episode by now, you might be able to tell that some of the people that I've had on this show are dear friends of mine, and they're like family members to me. And all of this is supposed to be fun. This is not my get rich quick scheme. I did that, like I said, with Verve. Okay. This is my lifelong mission. This is my lifelong vision. This is my forever game. This is my infinite game, right? This will never stop, ideally. We are your only friends. If for some reason all of your friends cut you off tomorrow, my hope would be that you just watch this show and that you're still happy, right? And that you don't feel lonely and that it is funny and life's not that serious and it typically always gets better, right? That's kind of the idea behind this. And like, just to talk about some of the people that I've had on. Okay, the first episode, Sean Guest. Sean Guest, from the moment I started going to the Wesley Chapel Side Splitters open mic, and Side Splitters, for those who don't know, is probably the most renowned club here in Tampa. It's like the most prestigious comedy club that touring comics from all around the nation and world always flock to perform their shows at. And I met Sean Guest at a Side Splitters open mic. And, he came up to me and said I did well. And, he found out I was like from the Philly area and we started connecting about that. But to bring him on as like the first episode was so special to me because, just to provide context, that episode, I like ultra prepared myself. I had all these like segments and all these questions. And then when I got here, I kind of felt like in the middle of it all that like the best stuff would just come from being organic with Sean. And it did. But Sean's episode was so special just because I think he has like one of the craziest stories in the whole Tampa Bay, comic scene, which is the fact that he was at a show and ran into Louis C.K. in the bathroom and then got a job at the most prestigious club in Tampa, doing comedy. Like, that's pretty freaking awesome. Sean is a dear friend of mine and I love him. Sean, if you're watching this, thank you, brother, for hopping on. The second episode, I believe, was Silvio Rodriguez. Silvio, he is the only person on the show thus far that isn't a comic, but I believe should be a comic. And he is my good buddy on the Jack Smith group. We both sell luxury real estate together. And I thought it was a blast with Silvio. Like, he is one of the most funny, naturally funny people, and he's great in impressions. You should see his Trump impression. It got banned on the internet, not by Instagram, of course, but by our superiors. So unfortunately, I can't clip that, but he has a phenomenal Trump impression. He is one of the funniest people that I know, and he's a dear friend more than all. Like, I'm going to have people on the show that aren't, open micers or comedians, right? It's just, the name of the show. I'm inviting my friends on, right? So the third person, and I'm doing this all by memory, was Cam Mahones, if I could be mistaken or not mistaken wrong. Cam Mahones, I met him also at the Side Splitters open mic. And the funny thing about Cam is when his episode came out, a lot of the comedian friends that I have didn't really know Cam, but a lot of them were like genuinely surprised. Like, oh, I actually really like that Cam guy. Like, he was funny, like he was smart. A comment that I heard from that episode. I know that we had Adam Clayton, who might have actually been episode 3. And I'm sorry, Adam, that I disrespected you. Adam Clayton is like my best friend in comedy. Like, me and him are butt buddies. There's like probably jokes about how we're butt buddies at the club behind my back. And I hope there are. Adam Clayton started comedy, like about a year ago too. And he has a crazy origin story of how he got started. It has to do with the Sunshine Comedy Festival that happened back in last January. But he's the bartender at Clearwater Comedy Club and Sunshine City Comedy Club, which is kind of like our home club, if you will, or the club that we go to the most right now. Speaking of that, another person I had on the show was Kenny Garcia. And Kenny Garcia is like my mentor in comedy, if I can be so lucky to even call him that, right? I'm not saying he is, but he's someone that I look up to. He's like a serious role model and a dear friend of mine, someone that I built a really good relationship with over the past couple months. And I'm just like forever in debt to Kenny, to be honest, about the fact that I started at his club and that his club is so welcoming to new open micers and new comedians or people trying to be stand-up comedians. So he was phenomenal to have on the show. We had Sierra Lako. Sierra Lako is amazing. When I think of like a really, really, really funny comic in St. Pete, she just naturally came to mind. I wanted to get her on the show. I heard a lot of great things about that episode. It actually, not that we had that many views. Like, I think the most views we have is on Sean's. It's like 121 views. But she like quickly became like the second most viewed, like over 100 views, which for me is a lot right now. You know, imagine what I would do if we got 14,000 views. I would take off my shirt and show you my rolls, okay? I'm not going to do that, so don't worry. But I feel like, Nick, am I missing someone? You watched every episode.
Oh, I just checked. You hit them all.
So then this is episode 6 or 7?
7.
There's no way I just hit 6 people. I talked about Sean, Silvio, Adam, Cam, Kenny, and Sierra. Wow. And now I'm Jared Dykas, right? So I told you a lot about myself. I told you a little bit about the vision for the show. I told you about my friends. I hope I wasn't too political on here, like someone that I'm not. You know, this really was a great experience because it was the first time that I consecutively just went into an episode by myself and just talked. I thought it was going to be a lot harder, honestly, than it is. And maybe it is a lot harder and this is just a shitty episode. We'll find out about that. But I thought it went pretty well. Like, honestly, like I hit all the points that I wanted to hit that I didn't even know I wanted to hit. And when that happens, you know, you just gotta be grateful, right? So I couldn't have asked for a better first solo episode. Thank you guys all for watching. It's a short one. You know, it's what, about 28 minutes, Nick, if I had to guess?
Yep. What was it really? That's right.
Well,
20 minutes.
28 minutes. We're doing a solo episode. This was Your Only Friends. This was the vision of Your Only Friends. And this was the first solo episode. Thank you guys for watching. That's a little bit about me, the show, and the future. Stay tuned and please like and subscribe. And if you haven't already bought 10 boxes of Chuga, make sure you do that.